All right, folks, we are going to give people just a minute to jump on here. All right, we've got about, it says 128 people on. That's great. A couple more joining in here. Yep, we have 156 schools to my count that will be participating in state this year, which is great. So I am going to go ahead and get started. Just remember that everything here is being recorded. Our plan is to post this tomorrow morning, probably around 10 a.m. to our website, ighsau.org. So if anybody missed out, or if you realize that somebody is not on here that needs this information, please direct them to our website for that. So getting started here. If you guys would be so kind to go to our website, ighsau.org, and then on that top left-hand side, Luke, do you want to take them through where they can find that Tournament Central link, if you haven't seen that already? So on our website there, top left-hand side, we've got that Tournament Central link. Okay, so that's what we've been using for our regionals and what we'll be using for state. So it's got all of this information located on it. It's a great resource for any parents, fans, anything like that. We've got all your information on there. So please share that with your people. We do have our state brackets up there, and now we've got the, originally when we put it out, it didn't have the seeds next to the names. Now it's got the seeded names, or the seeds next to the names, which is great. It's got a list of our qualifiers, whatnot. If you guys would look through this, coaches, look through this. If you see any spelling corrections, please send those to Heidi Reed, and her email is linked on there by noon tomorrow, okay? Because those are the names that are going to go into the programs. So that is when we need to know that. We'll go through ticketing information and things like that later. But yes, that would be great. If we could just get some of those things cleaned up, would be perfect. So like we said, there's a list there of all the schools and the qualifiers and things like that. So just do a quick double check. Again, those are all taken from Track Wrestling, so hopefully are correct. But if not, email those to Heidi. That would be great. Thank you. So on our meeting tonight, we have Matt Shannon, who has been the brains behind all of our track wrestling and our process through Super Regionals, and he will be running the show at our state event as well. Bruce Ennin, he is our officials coordinator, so he is tuning into this, and a couple of people from his board. We've got my boss, Jean Berger, on there, and so she said that she's just really here to support, but what that means is she's going to drop the hammer if anybody gets out of line. We've got Luke Eustace from Think Iowa City on here, and so he's going to be talking a little bit about the arena and some specifics as far as the maps and things like that. So really quick, I just want to review some things from Super Regionals. So we've been getting some great feedback on that. So again, first of all, thank you so much to our coaches and our athletes and administrators. We know that that was a wild day. You know, had some interesting weather in some parts to start with, but got through that pretty well. Didn't have, you know, any delays with that, which was great. Again, just a ton of positive feedback, but you know, we have, when you're dealing with big spaces, it just changes a lot of things. So I thought, you know, if nothing else, it really prepared us for the week ahead in terms of our credentials and just really, you know, being on the move and having our heads on a swivel and being ready for next steps. So, you know, really looking forward to seeing how that then translates to what we're doing this week. And, you know, just looking at our data, you know, I know that there were some questions initially about some of the seating and how that all played out, but we ended up with all but, I think, 2 of our ranked athletes out of 140 that moved on. So 3 of them did not compete. But again, that just kind of speaks to dividing the powers and the system that we work with and our thought process on that. So we are appreciative for people's patience, right, when it comes to those things. So our brackets were released earlier today. And so, you know, that was something that, you know, we really felt strongly about getting out really as soon as possible, because we know people are just antsy when it comes to that. You know, next year, there's a really good chance I'm not releasing it until the 5 minutes before. I'm kidding. But no, I think, you know, just something to definitely keep in mind with that is that, you know, we had to already make an adjustment today, which is why we had to push back our time a little bit, is because, you know, there's a really good chance that at any point there's, you know, athletes can withdraw from the competition for any reason. A lot of that can be injury, illness, things like that. So just so you all understand, that goes through Wednesday evening. So right away we had to make a change, and we, you know, needed to verify that the athlete was in fact, you know, withdrawing from competition, and then getting a hold of the 5th place person from that district, and then confirming with their coach that they would be able to compete and whatnot. So if you guys just, you know, make note of that to your 5th place athletes there, and that is why we placed out through 5th and beyond in the event that we needed to draw somebody in. So, you know, one of our brackets already has some adjustments to it. So, you know, we say that these are the tentative brackets until Thursday morning. Hopefully, you know, we don't have to make many more changes, but this is where you need to continue to refer to that Tournament Central to see if there's any changes there. We'll try to keep people updated if there are adjustments in brackets, but it's not as easy as just pulling that one person out and replacing it with the other person, because obviously their seating would be different in how we're doing some of those things. So that whole bracket would then need to be reseated. So again, if you guys know that you're not having an athlete compete somewhere, please let us know as soon as possible so that we can make those changes and communicate those things, because it's you know, something that the more time we have, then the better that just all goes. But we also know that injuries and illnesses can come up on Wednesday and kind of go from there. So with that, I'm going to let Matt Shannon really quick talk about our seating criteria and again how we do, you know, how we went about doing this. But I want to really make sure that you all understand that we are not addressing specific seating situations or your specific athletes at this time during the webinar, right? If that's an email that you want to shoot later, we can have that conversation or go into further explanation, but it's not something that's debatable, right? And so, you know, yeah, those are your marching orders, right? For those of you who understand that. So, but I think, you know, with that, it's just something that, again, just asking you guys to trust our process here. But Matt, do you want to just touch really quick on the seating and the criteria for that?
Yep. So how the seating goes, I believe it's listed in the tournament manual as well. But how it works with the track wrestling seating is it pulls in all the head-to-head, all the common opponent on its own. So we don't necessarily need any of that stuff enter. I know I was getting questions on how do I enter that stuff. It automatically does that for us. The system that track has developed for us. And it's looking at every individual within the bracket. So since there's 32 individuals, the highest points that you could get in that bracket is 31. That'd be a point over everybody within that bracket. So how you get those points, or how do you get the point, is once you meet, because it compares you with everybody in the bracket. Once, if wrestler A and wrestler B that's looking at those, once it hits a criteria where one of them has the advantage over the other one based on that criteria, that point goes to that individual then. So where the criteria is, it looks at head-to-head, it looks at common opponent next, followed by their state place from last year at IWCOA, and then regional place winner, or not necessarily place winner, but where they placed at regionals. And then the last one, if needed, is winning percentage in order to break that or to figure out where that criteria goes. So head-to-head, how that works, if they've split during the year, it considers it a tie and it looks at common opponent. It doesn't give it to the last person that won or the first person that won. It splits that and moves to common opponent. For common opponent, if you have beaten somebody and lost that person, then it doesn't count either way against you for that individual. But it's looking at everybody and then what you have as an advantage over a common opponent versus the opponent that you're getting compared to in that case. So once you get a criteria over somebody, that's how you get your point in that situation.
Awesome. Okay, so just again, we know that that can be a complicated thing in explaining criteria. It seems like sometimes it should be a little more straightforward than that when explaining it to parents and even your athletes or whatnot. But again, that's the way that we're doing it, and it has been proven to be a pretty successful model. So, and I did just get a question about which weight class was reseeded, and it was the 115 weight class that was reseeded earlier today. And again, what we released is the accurate information. We just waited a little bit because we knew that there was going to be a potential that was going to happen. So we waited until that was released. But yeah, 115 may be different than what was originally coming from regionals. So great question there. Thanks. Okay, so I can't stress enough about checking your email this week for updates. Again, for those of you, we always put out the Monday Minute to ADs and head coaches. If you guys are not getting those things, please send me an email, because that's how we've been communicating and doing a lot of our updates and reminders all year is through that Monday Minute at 10 a.m. on Monday. And just again, like lots of our emails and our memos that have been going out, and then we turn around and we post them under our coaches and administrators tab on our website as well. So just if you feel like you're not getting a lot of the information or confused about things, please look through that Tournament Central. Please look through the manuals and whatnot that we have posted out onto our website and into our coaches and administrators tab as well. We're just trying to get it all right there for you. But again, be on the lookout for some things like that too. We do have our IGHSAU wrestling Twitter as well that we've been trying to keep updates and whatnot on there too, if you're a social media person. So, and again, guiding your fans to that will be really helpful in solving a lot of their information. So, and just so you guys understand too, I know, a lot of us are used to the traditional tournament that's put on by the IHSAA every year, and that's a great tournament, right? That's what we know of our state wrestling process. However, I just want to reiterate the fact that we are in a much different space right now, right, with our sport. And I think that, this season has gone tremendously. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we're going to tweak and we're going to fix and we're going to clean up for next year. But just understand that, don't do either tournament a disservice by trying to compare them to each other so much, right? When it comes to wristbands, when it comes to protocol, when it comes to procedures or what's celebrated or not celebrated, right? These are just two different tournaments, right? Because we're in two different places. Okay. So we try to, again, communicate things out as much as possible so that you're not just reverting back to some of the things that you know and understand about state wrestling. Okay. So, but with that, I'm just going to go through that state tournament manual here, and I'm going to try to get through it fairly quickly. Again, if you have specific questions, then email me afterwards and I'll try to get back to those yet tonight or tomorrow morning. So again, just check out the fan guide on our wrestling tournament website for details on bag policies and arena policies and things like that, what you can bring in, what you can't bring in. Our state tournament tickets are on sale at extremearena.com. That information is on our website as well. $15 online plus fees. You can also buy that at the box office the day of. Okay, so just so you understand that, there are general admission tickets for all of our sessions. So just understand that. The other important thing to know is that it is one ticket per day. So that's a $15 ticket that's good for the whole day. So if you're leaving, coming back and whatnot, then you're just going to scan in, scan out. So keep that ticket with you, or that information on your phone. And so you can get in and out of the arena as you need to. That's obviously basically for fans at that point, but just so you understand, there's not a separate final sessions for tickets. It's a Thursday ticket and a Friday ticket. Okay. Again, that's the way we're doing it this year. Going to see how that works, but just trying to keep things pretty simple year one there. So Luke, do you want to bring up some of the parking and we can kind of go through some of that on your map here?
Yep, that I can do. So this is the parking map that we will be using for Thursday and Friday. Obviously, this is coming in off of exit 242 in Coralville there, getting on First Avenue. And then this is something that we worked with IGHSAU for girls volleyball, and it worked really, really well. And it's something that we want to implement for wrestling because it works so well. But ideally, we'd like all school vehicles to come down to 7th Street. So not go 9th Street, which is how the fans and everyone else typically gets into the Iowa River Landing. But for the school vehicles to come down to 7th Street, you'll see there's a roundabout, and then you will head north on East 2nd Street. And the team drop-off will be at the Green State Family Fieldhouse entrance. So that's where you'll be able, there's a little roundabout there. You'll be able to drive in, drop your people off, and then come back out, go south on 2nd Street. And then you can see there's a team vehicle parking, which we call the chip seal lot, but that's where team vehicle parking will be. And then there'll be additional parking there on Quarry Road as well. Ideally, you can pick your team up at the same place you drop them off. We will have a lot of flags, a lot of signage. You shouldn't miss it. It's pretty clear. And then as Aaron and I have talked, you'll come in on Thursday, and as you come into the Green State Family Fieldhouse, you will come down, and that's where we'll get all the registration stuff taken care of before that first session.
Yep. No, that's awesome. Thank you. So if you want to, like we said, your bus driver, if you've got a bus driver, right, then they will come in through that pass gate as well. You do not have to put them on your roster list, as we've talked about, but they will be able to come in and get a general admission ticket, and then they can sit within the bowl up there as well. So do you want to pull up the map of the inside the arena? Then we can kind of go through some of our seating and what that looks like.
Yep.
Okay, so looking at this here, we've got obviously an aerial view of the arena. And so with that, section 109 and 110 is going to be designated here kind of in that end zone right there. Those are going to be your athlete and coach seating. Okay, so after you come in, you will again be able to sit here during the competition if you want to be within the bowl and see all of that. That will be specific for coaches and athletes. Obviously, if you want to go talk to parents or go talk to whoever at that point, you can do that. But this is no spectators or general fans will be allowed in these areas. Okay, this is just for the roster, the travel party who's in attendance. Okay, so that's why it's especially going to be necessary for them to keep those credentials on when they get there. But there will be an opening down there between 9 and 10 that then goes to the arena floor. For those of you who were at Donnybrook, you kind of saw this setup, but they had cattle guarded off there in that what direction is that? That north end zone area there. And so that's going to be kind of a holding tank for that block of 4 mats that's right there. And so that'll be kind of our next available. So coaches, we're going to need a lot of help on that. If you are not the next up, right? If you're not on deck or getting ready to wrestle, that is not a hangout space. Okay. So again, we're going to have designated people there to help with that process, but that's not where people are hanging out. Okay. So our cheerleaders are going to be sitting in section 111. And so they will have access to the floor right down through there. And then they can also come around to 109 and 110 if need be, and then drop down right there and quickly get onto the floor from there. So that's going to be reserved cheer space at that point as well. So just things to pass on to some of your people there logistically. On the other side, so on the south side there, how it is going to be set up, there is going to be, so these little dashes in here represent the head tables in through there. And in the middle of that is going to be a truss set up. And so behind this space and then off to the west, it looks like there's going to be a cattle guarded area back there that will be kind of that next up for the mats that are going to be closest then to the head table. So just so you guys can do a little bit of planning there and knowing where you're up and kind of getting back and forth. If you guys are not familiar with the arena, there is a large hallway that goes all the way around the arena. It just is like those are going to be the floor access points. So just again, training your kids to understand that and your coaches as well. Now, since we've got this map pulled up, we are going to go through really quickly. We've got these courts up here, court 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is going to be in the Green State Fieldhouse there. Court 5, that's split off, but part of that is going to be our players lounge and hang space there. We do that for a lot of our tournaments, and so that's going to have some games and some karaoke and some fun stuff for the kids to be able to enjoy during the tournament if they want to go back there and hang out. Again, that will be a credentialed area, so not just everybody can come down there and hang out. We've also got our working media and interview space that's right there off of the court. So after your athletes get done competing, they can take a quick cool down, but then when they exit the arena, they will need to go to that media space, that interview space there to, that's where all of like local reporters, any media outlets are going to be directed there and set up there to do all that kind of stuff. So if you can, whether or not you know your kid needs to have an interview or not, that is where they will go. So again, we're just trying to train them to go check in there to see if anybody needs to talk to them first. Coaches, we are going to absolutely need your help with that and getting on board with that. Court 4 here is where we're going to have our weigh-ins. Again, this was something that was done at Donnybrook that went really, really well. And so they will have those scales set up. I think, Luke, the whole time you guys, we're just going to keep weigh-ins there for both days. So our scales will be available there. Courts 2 and 3 are going to have mats set up on them and going to be warm-up areas. Again, mats just set up the whole time. And then court 1 is going to be our designated cheer space. So that's going to be kind of their holding area for their bags and anything like that they have. That's going to be supervised by some cheer personnel there as a space for them. So a few of you have asked already about whether or not there will be space available the night before or scales available. There will not be. So that is a space that is rented out through Wednesday evening, and we don't have access to set up our stuff there until late Wednesday night. So no practice area or no scale check-in. If you guys want to do that, you'll have to either contact one of the local schools to see if you can get a workout there, or just make other arrangements at that point as far as a workout space and scales. So hopefully that will answer that. So moving on through here, we are going to get into, Luke, did I miss anything as far as spaces there? We've got
I think the only thing that I'll just pull it back up. You'll see, so this is the north side over here where I'm kind of moving my cursor. These will be mats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So mat 7 and 8 will be the ones that will be close to the head table. And one thing that we'd like to do is, so 5, 6, 7, and 8, they'll use this loading dock VOM to queue up and to get ready to go out on these formats. And then you'll use VOM or the entrance around section 111 to use 1 through 4. And so it's really, I can't stress it. It's really important. We know that wrestlers want to be close to the action. They want to be on the floor. And that's why we really work hard to try to create some areas there for them so they can be on the floor. But as Aaron said, they're not necessarily hangout spaces. They're spaces when you know you're the next matchup, that's where you're going to go. And then we really just ask, stay in that area until there's 30 seconds left in that match, and then on the match previously on your mat, and then kind of make your way out there. And we're going to work hard at trying to keep that floor clean and just really trying to make it as professional as possible, as well as knowing that there's a lot of excitement and everyone wants to get as close to the mat as possible. But I think it will work really well, and we're excited.
Yeah. No, thanks for that, Luke. So again, around that area too, you'll see that the dasher boards are going to be up, right? So those are the hockey boards. Something that we have talked a lot about too is not letting athletes flip over those things, right? So if we start to have a problem with that, we're going to address it immediately because we will have supervisors all around that area. But if that becomes a problem, we're going to start taking away team points and penalizing for that kind of stuff, because we're going to have a lot of signage up around there from our organization that people put a lot of energy into, and we can't have that stuff ripped down. And that just, there's too much of a pathway for your kids right now to not be prepared and to be making those jumps. So again, coaches, that's something that we're going to need you to reiterate. No fans flipping over that for any reason. We just can't have that happen. Okay. So I think, I don't know that there was anything else that I was going to say about that arena, but I'll come back to it if I think of it. So I think moving on here to, we are going to go through, so school administrators, if you guys are on here right now, your administrator ID will get you into the pass gate that is coming through the that Green State pass gate, right? So you may have to walk around there. Don't try to come into the front doors with that. They will let you down through the media pass gate as well, which we'll talk about where that is, but that doesn't really pertain to a whole lot of people here. But don't try to walk in the front doors, because that's all scan tickets and ticketing and metal detector type stuff. You know what I mean? Don't do all that kind of stuff. Come around. It might take a few extra steps, but your pass gate is there. That will also be if you have one person also gets in with you. That does not get you a floor credential. Okay. Again, that floor space is going to be so tight, especially day one. We just can't have extra personnel down there. Okay. But it will get you into the general admission seating, and we'll kind of go from there. Just something that is probably new for some wrestling fans is Cooley's Corner. So we do this in basketball, we do this in volleyball, we do this in softball, but it's a hospitality area for administrators and participating coaches and assistants and that kind of stuff. So we will have, it's not for student athletes, we will have some snacks and some water and some things like that up during the day. It's in one of the suites up above next to the Jardine family suite. And that will be manned with people who are checking your credentials and things like that. The food and drink, it's not a huge space, but the food and drink can't be taken out of there. But just know if you're walking around up there in the concourse and you see Cooley's Corner, that those are for participating coaches and administrators as well. So we're going to see how well that works with wrestling and kind of go from there. But that will be available both Thursday and Friday if you guys want to check that out. So, so now we're going to talk about team pass gate admission. Okay. So, like we said before, you guys have to check in at the team gate located at the Green State Family Fieldhouse. Okay, so that is on the south side of the Extreme Arena. And so coaches and athletes, you guys have to enter in there basically together. If you know for some reason somebody's coming late, assistant coach or whatever, just let us know, okay? But that is going to be the space that we go. We've also talked about when we do the initial drop off there, we'll run through the schedule really quick in just a second, but we're going to kind of feed that down. It's supposed to be super cold out, so we don't want anybody standing outside in the cold. So we'll have people come in and kind of feed that down, and then we'll do those credential checks and stuff in the morning and get you guys squared away there, just so you guys understand that. So state tournament roster. Okay, that is on the form section of Bound, just like you guys did for your regional roster. Okay, if you didn't do that for your regional roster, which some of you didn't, okay, that was kind of a headache, right? That was a problem the morning of. You guys will have to do that again for state. That it will not be as difficult, okay? But again, that is going to be due tomorrow morning, Monday morning at 10 a.m. So please get those in as soon as possible. So only the athletes that are participating in the state tournament are allowed. So obviously that's very easy for us to verify, right? But don't put more people on that in your roster, okay? So then you have the head coach, where you'll have a head coach line there, and then you'll have 3 volunteer and assistant coaches allowed on the roster for the programs who qualified between 1 and 8 athletes, okay? So again, that is that we're no managers, okay? No photography people, nobody like that, okay? Don't put your bus driver on there. Those are for certified, verified coaches only, okay? Again, your school authorized coaches, okay? So just make note of that, okay? So that is a total of 4 coaches, okay? For the majority of people. Okay, so anybody that qualified 9 or more athletes, you guys are allowed a total of 4 assistant coaches and volunteers in addition to the head coach, okay? So that's 1 more, you would have 5 at that point, okay? So your athletic director must sign on that form electronically, submitting into Bound, verifying all the coaches and the staff members there, okay? So ADs, if you don't know a coach that that one of your coaches put on there, that's going to come back to you, okay? If you don't know a medical person that your coach put on there, that's going to come back on you, okay? We again have to keep this cleaned up, okay? So we are not allowing additional wristbands for purchase for our athletes or managers or team personnel, anything like that, okay? We got to keep it clean this year. Working with a really tight floor space on Thursday especially. So this is just how we're going to do it this year. And we'll reevaluate for next year and see if we feel like we can expand that at all. But really going back and looking through all of your regional rosters, most people didn't have more than 2 or 3 coaches. And again, I understand that there are some that are the exception, right? So that's when you just have to make those decisions now. You got plenty of time to figure that out at that point, okay? But you cannot buy extra credentials, extra wristbands, anything like that. The floor access is what we're concerned about, and that needs to remain tight, okay? So again, don't abuse that, don't cause problems, okay? That's something that we can quickly verify. Have your credentials with you guys at all times. I know that at my site over in Sioux City, everybody did a really great job with that. That's something that we were really trying to train them up for this coming week, right? Of coaches, you're always going to have credentials on you. Athletes are always going to have credentials on them. You know, when they are getting ready to take the mat, they take that off, they put that around the coach's neck. Coach wears that, gives it right back to the athlete right after, okay? So again, just have to keep it really as professional as possible. So we just need your help when we're going through those things too. We do have a space on that regional roster for athletic trainers, okay? And this isn't like your favorite family podiatrist that you want to be able to get in the mix that's never actually interacted with your kids, okay? Like don't pull that kind of stuff, right? If you have a legitimate athletic trainer that helps to serve your student athletes or medical professional that has been mat side and helped in that, that is the space for that person. Again, they've got to be certified, they've got to be established in that. And again, the AD is signing off on that as well. So that person is able to, they'll have their own credential. They'll come in that pass gate as well. So their name will be listed somewhere as well too, if they need to check in separate from the team, but they will have, that is one per school. Okay. U of I sports medicine teams, they are going to have people there mat side during the event. So it's not like you need your athletic trainer there. They'll take care of everything, but the athletic trainers there will, if you bring one, they'll have access to those facilities as well. So we'll just kind of coordinate some of those things. Locker room and team hang space. So we've got big locker rooms available. I do believe we've got 3 of them, 3 of the 4 big locker rooms designated for our athletes. This will be a place where people just go and change and shower. It's not a place where they're going to store their stuff. Okay. So, again, just while they're in there is when they'll have their stuff in there. When they exit that facility, that either needs to go to the team hang space or the warm-up area, that kind of stuff. So athletes, you're responsible for your own stuff. You're responsible for bringing your own towels. But again, you need to be responsible for your own stuff because we know at these things tend to walk away. So, so kind of going through, we're going to quickly go through our schedule of events. Okay. So 6:00 a.m. on both Thursday and Friday. Okay. That is when the field house athlete pass gate doors are going to open for athletes and cheerleaders and coaches. And so right at 6:00 in the morning, don't come before then because, or if you do, stay in your vehicles and stuff because we're not going to open it before then. Okay. But like we said, we don't want anybody to be out in the cold. So we'll funnel the people that are there in and kind of go from there. So weigh-ins are going to start at 7:00. We'd really like to get them lined up around 6:45 if possible. So, just be mindful of that. Is it, when we've got 32 girls in each bracket, that takes a little bit more organization and whatnot there. Like we said, there's going to be warm-up mats available. Our first session will start at 9 a.m. Okay. We've got a projected finish time of around 3:00. Again, that's give or take, right? We all know that just depends on how everything goes in the flow of our days. But then we will start that evening session at 5:00. We project that that'll get over around 9:00. So with that, we're not necessarily going to clear out the arenas or do anything like that. But, and if it's something where our first session, for whatever reason, goes until 4:50, then yes, we'll likely take a 20 or 30-minute break in between sessions, get reset and regrouped, and then move on to the next thing. So that's kind of what day 1 looks like. Day 2 on Friday, again, that same morning schedule, and then starting wrestling at 9 a.m. as well. And so we're moving on to semifinals. And some wrestlebacks and stuff in there. Athletes, when we know that you're going to be in the championship first place matches, we will have a form for them to fill out at the head table. And so that's something, again, like they did at IWCOA State, we see kind of at traditional state, just a fun little information form for them that kind of gives our commentators and some other people just some more information and some more background personally on some of those kids for those finals events. So when we go into our evening session and our finals, okay, so at 6:00 we're going to have our awards presentation. Okay, so this is going to be, I think we've got 5 different awards right now that we're giving out to some people, some IWCOA awards and things like that. We will have a grand march. So that means that our grand march people, I guess I'll kind of get down into this, but we are going to need any of our place finishers. Okay, so if we know we're anywhere between 8th place and 1st place, okay, no matter where we are at that point, we know we're going to get one of those. Those people are going to report to the Green State Fieldhouse, okay, that weigh-in area, court 4 at 5:15, okay? So we'll do that to go through just a quick rehearsal and take them through what to expect during that grand march. Very simple, but again, it just helps them to be able to visualize what's going on, go through that process. So if you know, coaches, if you know you've got an athlete that's going to be in that for that time frame, we've got to get them back at 5:15 to go from there. going back to those final sheets, those need to be turned in at the end of that session 3 on Friday, because we're going to do some fun things for them with some music and some different information. So we need that time in the afternoon there, that gap before finals, to prep some of that information that they've given us. So if they show up and they give that to us at 6 o'clock on Friday, there's not going to be a whole lot of fun things that we're going to be able to do with that. Again, just for your information there. And I can kick that form out to people ahead of time too, if kids feel pretty confident that they're going to land there and want to get it done ahead of time. Again, just our dress code for state. Okay. So this, yeah, you're not going to find this in our manuals anywhere, but nobody likes to be the person that shows up and they're in the wrong stuff. Right. So typically at state, jeans and shorts and hats are all traditionally frowned upon during the tournament when you're representing your school in the corner. Okay. So if you're coaches that are going to be on the mat in the corner, then, just, it doesn't have to be super fancy the whole time or anything like that, but just really kind of stepping it up a notch, looking professional. That is always appreciated. Right. And then for finals, if you've got somebody in those championship matches, then that is more formal attire. Again, traditionally, do you have to go out and buy a suit for it? No, but just, again, be aware that slacks or, dress, whatever that is, right? That is something that is typically seen at that point. Are you going to be kicked off the mat if you show up in sweats? No. Okay. But again, one of those things where that is, traditionally the expectation of the people in the corners to be looking nice at that point. So again, looking at some of those things, we are going to have our medals presentation after all of our wrestling is done. Okay. So again, that's something that's a little bit different than at traditional boys state, where they kind of jockey back and forth and whatnot. But we have the ability, it's just kind of one of my biggest pet peeves is by the time we get to the upper weights, like half the arena is cleared out. Right. So I just like to be able to keep that full. Obviously we've only got one class, so things go a little bit quicker anyway. But all of our team trophies and our individual trophies will be presented at the end, the conclusion of wrestling there. Okay. So our plan is that on the north side of the arena, I believe it is, we'll have whatever is opposite of the head table. We'll have a small stage there. We've got a great new podium that looks really sharp. So we'll have some stuff staged there for our awards. Okay. So again, we're going to just need our athletes who have placed to hang around down there near the courts. And so we'll be able to grab them and kind of place them where we need to and get them lined up ahead of that medal ceremony. So again, something from coaches we'll need some help with. We will have the head coach of the champion present the medal to the champion along with our board of directors and things like that. So just a traditional element that we feel strongly about keeping. We like that and know that coaches have worked hard and deserve that recognition as well. So just know that, is something that we plan on doing and we'll maybe need a little bit of help with in terms of guiding your athletes. So I'm going to look here really quick to see if we've got any questions pertinent to that. Okay, when it comes to your regional roster, if you would print a copy and bring that to you, then that is always helpful if you can do that. I think we've answered some of these other questions. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's Wi-Fi in the building. You just got to make sure that it's Extreme Arena, it's free. You just got to make sure you open a browser and then you just got to click accept. We'll also have TVs in both loading areas, multiple TVs in both loading areas, and then also TVs in the in the warm-up area as well for call to mat, so you'll know when your wrestler will be coming up. And then just couple other things. the Green State Family Fieldhouse will be the only entrance where you will be able to use your credential to get in. You will not be able to come in the front door with your credential, and they'll turn you around and they'll ask you to go in the Green State. With that, you are able to bring the things, your post weigh-in food and drink in through the Green State Family Fieldhouse entrance with you, and you'll be able to have that. Just in general, it's a clear bag policy to come in through the front door. So parents, grandparents, just a good reminder there as well. I saw a lot of people going back to their cars last night at the hockey game because they did not have clear bags. So just a reminder, it is a clear bag policy when you come in through the front door. We do not have that policy for the athletes and coaches. So the Green State Family Fieldhouse entrance, you'll be able to bring your bags, your food, those types of things with you. But again, you are going to need your credential to get into that entrance.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so really quick here, I'm going to answer a couple of these questions. You do not need to bring weigh-in sheets with you. That's a great question. We will have a master, since we know exactly who we're working with, we will have a master sheet for that. So coaches don't worry about bringing weigh-in sheets as your entry ticket or anything like that. Like I said before, warm-up mats will be on courts 2 and 3. We'll have plenty of them. Yes, if you do not want to be the head coach that presents the award, if one of your staff members wants to present that, we don't really care. We just need to know the name to give to them, as long as it's a certified coach. Managers are not allowed on the floor. Managers and other personnel are not allowed on the floor. We don't allow any videoing, and I'll go through that here in a minute. But once we, go through that, but yeah, managers don't need that. They don't serve a purpose on the floor. And same with, any of their chaperones, anybody like that, they're just general admission fans. They're just, if they obviously are traveling with you in your hotel and whatnot, it's on you to make those accommodations and the responsibilities there. But they will not be giving any credentials, wristbands, anything like that, or access to the floor or in that preferential seating. So this is a great question, and I was going to get to this, but I'll go ahead. I see it, so I'll go ahead and get to it now. So when the wrestlers are eliminated, will they still be able to enter the athlete in the larger sessions? Yes. Okay. So we do that typically with all of our other events in terms of, once they have that credential, that is their ticket in and out. Okay. So if they're eliminated that first day, that first round, whatever, if they want to continue to be there the rest of the time, they need to have that with them at all times. We have also told them that if they're trying to share that with people, they're going to get that taken away and they're out, right? At that point, they're either, we're not messing around with that, okay? So don't let them give that to a manager, especially if they're continuing to compete, okay? Because we'll have to penalize them for those types of things. Then, we don't want to have to kick people out. We don't want to have to get ridiculous about it, but take management of it. Okay. And so do not be letting managers and other people just sit in those areas. And that's, again, if we want to change it for year 2, we'll do that. This is how it's going to be for this year. We just want to run a little bit more of a tight ship. Okay. And eliminate some of that gray area. So, but yes, to answer your question, they can watch all things there. We do not need them on the floor though. They don't have a purpose to be on the floor at that point. If they want to be back in a team hang space and enjoying that, that's fine. If they want to, but that's also for their bowl type seating. Okay. If it becomes a problem with people who are no longer competing, then we'll ask them to go into general admission seating at that point. Okay, I'm gonna kind of get through the rest of my stuff, and then I'll come back to some of these questions if they still exist. Okay. So like I said before, we're gonna get into some media type stuff. And again, this stuff is really for a lot of our media personnel, but if you have media people who you want to bring to this stuff, and they've been asking you questions about this, refer them to this information right there. Okay. So, and we've said school publications, you've got to enter those by 4:30 on Monday, the 30th. You send those to Jason Esslinger. Again, this is in your manual. and that must come from a school administrator, okay? So there's a link to apply for those credentials and whatnot, but that has to be done in a timely manner. So like I said before, there's no videotaping, no videography allowed in the state tournament wrestling area, right? Okay, we're just, that's not something that is available or exists. However, we will have our CISN, our digital network. I can't even begin to tell you the work they have put into preparing for the state tournament, okay? So getting a lot of really wrestling specific overlays, cleaning up a lot of the camera angles and things like that. They're going to be providing video streams that are truly, they're going to be next to none, right? They're going to be amazing. So we are going to have that available both days of our tournament, okay? And it's going to be for free, and it's going to be on our website, okay? So that'll be on the Wrestling Tournament Central. We'll have a tab in there where people can watch, but it is our digital network, okay? So that's something that we own, we control. We've got commentators that are going to be there for both days. It's going to be very, very professional. It's going to be something where, you know, for day one, for example, when we're running the 8 mats, we're going to have a camera angle that's capturing, you know, it'll be a one camera per mat, okay? But then on one screen, it'll show 4 mats, and then on another screen, it'll show 4 more mats, okay? So we're gonna run that. So just to prepare you, you know, if you wanna see everything at one time, then having 2 screens next to each other, but it'll have, you know, the names of the athletes, the schools where they're from, score, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be built into it. And like I said, it's going to be beautiful, and free for everybody around the state. So that's something, again, we're super proud of, and we've been working really hard for, and something to be really excited about. As it gets down to then the finals on Friday night, that will just be, you know, that'll be one stream there for that captures all 3 mats and kind of going from there. But again, will be super fun. Something too, we'll have programs available. We've got our hard copies there. They're going to be available for $5 through the concourse. We've got merchandise that's going to be available in the team hockey store. If you guys were at state volleyball at all, that's where they were set up. It worked out really great. So they're going to be in a team store, but it's Fine Designs. So they will be there as well. And then just a reminder too, you know, we're not bringing in banners or flags or noisemakers, balloons, anything like that, right? So that stuff's not allowed in the arena. We know sometimes that gets snuck in. Those are things that are going to be confiscated right away, okay? Our staff is going to be on it, and we'll kind of go from there. I do want to talk a lot too about sportsmanship, okay? So one of our big pushes this year has been profanity and just abusive language. So just, you know, consider this to everybody, the warning, right? Obviously the officials will take care of our coaches and our athletes, right? So it's their job to take care of them. But as far as our spectators go, it's a zero tolerance thing, right? We're not obligated to give anybody warnings and this and that. Like if it's abusive, they're out. We don't have a problem escorting people out, right? And so, but you know, if somebody gets kicked out on Thursday, they're kicked out for the entire event. Okay, so if their kid is competing in finals on Friday night, they're going to have to be watching that from our fantastic digital network and not from the arena seats. So again, just something we take a lot of pride in providing a great atmosphere, and that's part of it. So, okay, really quick, I'm going to get in here to some questions, see what we missed. Where am I at here? Is it feasible to walk from the Drury Inn to Green State? Yes. Yeah, that's not a problem. If you park there and walk over, that's not a big deal. Again, just time it right so you're not standing outside in the morning waiting. Can you pick up credentials Wednesday night? Nope, it's going to be all Thursday morning. But great question there. Do we need any volunteers to help run track? No, we're good with that. But if we need somebody, we'll let you know. But at this point, we're really well staffed. We've got a great crew of people. We've already addressed the food in the coolers being brought in from the pass gate. That's fine. Can you use a volunteer coach slot as a warm-up partner for an odd number of qualifiers? So if you have a volunteer coach and you want to put them as one of your coaches, that is allowable. Again, they just have to be a certified coach, but it doesn't matter at that point. Like, I don't care if they're the warm-up partner, the head coach, the whoever, you can still only have 4 coaches designated. Okay. So you can't have 4 coaches plus a warm-up partner, or 4 coaches plus a manager. You can have 4 coaches. Okay. Certified coaches. So your warm-up partner doesn't get to be a coach. Okay. Does that make sense? Those are all adult coaches, so your coach, you're going to have to, if your person needs a warm-up partner and your coaches can't handle that. And when I say can't handle that, they don't do that. Okay. You're going to need to coordinate with somebody else, or that's just how it's going to have to be. Okay. Again, yep, no warm-up partners, therefore putting them at a disadvantage. So I guess everybody's at a disadvantage at that point. So there's not really anything to gripe about. Managers, yep. So managers will need to be in general admission seating. Okay. So nobody on the floor, even if you only have 1 wrestler. Okay. So again, managers, we love them. We know our programs may be dysfunctional without them. Okay. But at the end of the day, this is how it's going to have to be. Okay. So I think that is what we've got there. Again, I know it's one of those things. So will you have time to change if you're a warm-up partner? I guess it depends on how long you're warming up for, right? We're not going to hold a match for you to change. And like I said, if you feel like you need to get out there in your sweatpants, but so be it, man. So, okay. So at this point, we are going to probably be done taking questions. All good things here. And again, appreciate your patience and everything moving forward. Again, I can't stress to you enough how much we need those bound forms in by 10 a.m. Okay. If we're starting to get those trickling in a lot later, that puts everything behind. We're trying to pack and trying to get everything done because we are on a tight timeline and tight turnaround. Okay. If you have questions, email me. And again, so one of the assistant coach spots can't be an athlete. Correct. The only athletes that are allowed in are those participating. Okay. Entered into the tournament. Again, this is for year 1. If we want to change that for year 2, that's what it'll be. But only students that are participating. Okay. No managers, no warm-up partners, no friends of the program, no injured athletes, no whatever. Okay. Can't be more clear on that. So that's where we're at. If those people show up, those people will not be allowed in. Those people will have to buy a general admission ticket and come in when the rest of the people do. Okay. So that's on you guys at that point. So, okay. Thank you guys. We're right at an hour. I think the Chiefs won. I'm not sure, but we can all get excited and go from there. Have a wonderful evening and appreciate all of your time and energy.